All right, let me continue. What happened to Epstein's island after he died? His island, aka Little St. James, was a focal point of the horrific operation. It has long been believed that Jeffrey hosted a wide array of rich and famous clients at the island. Let's get his photo off the screen, shall we? I don't want to make you guys sick. Oh, thank you, me and my cat. We are live, yes. It's late here in the UK. I'm just doing an update on what's been released so far and what we hope will be released. So this story is referring to the island. What happened to it? When Jeffrey first purchased Little St. James, he paid $7.9 million. He bought the island in 1998 and made it his primary residence, employing a staff of 70 people. And our investigation led us to believe that it was subject to his own laws to be out there, out of the reach of the American laws. And they did things, you know, out in above the waters as well, where it was maritime law, trying to insulate themselves from what happened. So he paid $7.9 million in 1998, but at the time of his death, the island was valued at $63.8 million. In the aftermath of his death, it was listed for sale for $125 million in 2021. In May 2023, it was sold to billionaire Stephen Deckoff, who vowed to turn it into a luxury resort by 2025. He is reported to have paid around $60 million for the property as well as for Great St. James. Jeffrey's estate has said that any money generated from the sale of his properties will be used to settle lawsuits. All right, so social media is slamming the disappointing Epstein files released by Trump admin. Here's a tweet from Tony Kinnett. Pam Bondi, we're releasing the first of the Epstein files tomorrow. Americans, cool. Then we'll get to read them. Bondi, well, actually, you'll get to see fun little photo shoots of conservative personalities and influencers holding a binder. And here's what Jordan Schachtel tweeted. The theatrical performance involved in the release, or lack thereof, of the Epstein files speaks to an effort that is sure to disappoint those seeking transparency and justice. Yep. And then we have got another tweet from Ron Filipowski. What a joke. So the big reveal on the Epstein files is that some of them were given to a group of right-wing social media operatives. They turn everything into a clown show. Influencer who received Epstein binder said there was nothing martial in it. One of the media personalities who received the binder has admitted the files did not include any new bombshell info. And this is at Cernovich on Twitter. We got the binder at noon. SDNY and FBI held back the real information, and AG Bondi directed Kash Patel to start kicking arse. Bondi handed what she had. There was nothing martial. There was an embargo until after the UK Prime Minister visit. Let's see. Wonder how Keir's sniveling, groveling, warmongering Keir is doing. So Epstein's address book to release per report, but it was already public. The files released include Epstein's personal address book, New York Post reported. Documents span over 100 pages, include a list of contacts with no context per the report. As many social media users have pointed out, the book was already made public. A client list is not included in the documents to be released. Julie K. Brown, the list has been public since 2015. All one has to do is Google it. That's the Miami Herald lady who one of the ones who got the ball rolling. Let me have a look what she said in full. Those involved in the Jeffrey case for 2 decades fear that the case and Epstein survivors are being used for political purposes. This isn't a news story, it's a publicity stunt, said lawyer Spencer Kuvin, who has worked on the case since 2005, representing 9 victims, including victim 1. All right, guys. So it's pretty much a non-event. Pam Bondi got us all excited, but the pressure's going to be on her now to get some information released in the coming days. And if there's anything, oh, here is Ryan Dawson joining us right now, folks. Let's see what he's got to say about this. Hey, brother, how's it going, man? He's just tuning in his audio, folks. And hopefully he'll be with us momentarily once he gets his audio fixed. Let me see what you guys are saying in the chat. Yeah, the continued controlled demolition of America. Well, hopefully it's getting turned around.
There it is. Okay.
Here he comes, Ryan. What do you think about this? And he's
all it was on mute, but it goes from light green to yellow, and when you're red-green colorblind, that doesn't help. Why don't they make one blue and whatever? Anyway, yeah, man, it's hit the fan with Epstein. Can I say that name? Shoot, is this YouTube?
Let's say Jeffrey. Just say Jeffrey.
Yeah, Jeffrey. Yeah, that guy. Yeah, the dude that's on that map back there. Yeah. There's a lot of attention on this story again, and I'm excited that people didn't forget about it and they still care and they still want answers. I'm not too optimistic about what's been released. I think it's just a little black book and a bunch of flight logs, both of which we already have.
So reading the quotes, then she's claiming that she wants the rest of some information by 8 a.m. tomorrow morning from the FBI. She's demanding it. There must be a lot of pressure on her right now after this non-event.
They circumvented her, didn't they? They just went right around her and gave it to a bunch of Zio influencers. And they're holding up these folders. And I'm thinking, I guarantee that's just a little black book and a bunch of flight logs. They're not going to go into his client list. They're not going to get into his white collar crimes with Bear Stearns or any of that, because they just won't. They're not. It's not happening. They really bit off more than they can chew, promising they release these files, because essentially they got in there, or before they got in there, they said, yeah, we'll release JFK, 9/11, Epstein. Then got into office, realized all three of those things go back to foreign country A, and they're, oops, now what do we do?
Yeah, exactly.
They're not going to do it. And here's the thing about JFK. They'll say, well, 99% of the files were already released. No. 99% of the files given to the 1992 review board were released. There were lots of files that never even saw the review board. And obviously that's where the dirt is.
And is that one going to be minimized as well?
100%. Trump was already president. He could have done this last time. Why didn't he release all the JFK back then? Why didn't he talk about Jeffrey back then? Why now? And why now is because basically social media made this happen. But they're just going to feed them information we already have, which to them will be brand new because none of these people read. So they're going to go and be like, look who was on the plane. Oh, look who was in his book. And then anyone that's been paying attention is just womp womp. We knew that. Nothing new. I hope there's more out of it, but I don't think there is.
Right, viewers. Ryan's links are all in the description box. I've got my maps framed now on the house walls. People have been coming over and admiring them. You can support his work by going to his store as well. He doesn't ask for donations. He'd rather give something in return. Mm-hmm. We've got slews of stuff here, including clothes for baby Ziggy. Dawson University.
Dawson University, yeah.
And if you guys have got questions, Ryan's up late right now, so get your questions in before he...
I feel bad for my brother because he was just on the History Channel about his lost colony discovery. And then with the Epstein files and then the Tate brothers finally are out. That's some good news, but it just stole every headline. But when you're saying Dawson University, I have a twin and he does the similar to me, digging all these things up. And he had a pretty big day and it got overshadowed, I guess, by all this. Let's see this question.
Ryan, what list did you just put on Rumble? I am confused about the list you just put up.
Oh, that's just the thumbnail. I just decided to use part of the list for a video I did about Epstein. I have, for those who don't know, like I have been tweeting, rumbling, substacking the Epstein client list for years, and it just doesn't matter. That's what's so frustrating. I had it. Let's see. It's not within range from me right now. I usually have a black notebook full of names, and I walk around with it. I'm like, look, here they are. Right at the top of the list, Les Wexner and Jess Staley and Glenn Dubin, and you can go through and Leon Black, and that it's here's the people, here's the list, and they don't care. They act like no one got arrested. They act like no one got sued. It's just not true. Look this up, people. I want you, anybody that has Google, write this down right now. JP Morgan, 290 million, Epstein. Look it up. They had to pay $290 million because they were facilitating hush money and payments to his prostitution ring. Look up Deutsche Bank, 75 million Deutsche Bank. Write it down. And write this one down. Leon Black, 62 million. Prince Andrew, 16 million. To act like no one got sued, no one had to pay enormous settlements, not just individuals, but banks, is wrong. They did. They got caught. They paid through the nose. People got arrested, not just Maxwell and Jeffrey. Jean-Luc Brunel, he died in a Paris prison. He was the number 3 person in that ring. He also went to jail and died in jail by himself. He did it to himself, allegedly on his own too, just like Jeffrey. Yeah, see, it's hard. I almost said the word. It's YouTube. It's so stupid. YouTube's like, oh, you can't talk about anything political. That's what it is, though. But yeah, people were busted. They were caught. There are the list. I have to say, people presuppose there's just some client list, like he wrote it all down alphabetically and stuck it in a locker somewhere, and the FBI went and grabbed it and go, oh, look, he was stupid enough to write down all of his clients on this convenient piece of paper or whatever, and we found it, but we're just not going to. That's not how you get the client list. Here's how you get the client list. Many of their victims are still alive and will tell you who SA'd them. And the ones there's a lot of them. Now, the ones who are out publicly, like Maria Farmer or Virginia Roberts, they'll put their name to it and say, yeah, that's why Prince Andrew had to pay Virginia money. I mean, they're photographed together in Maxwell's house. You have a 17-year-old American girl in England with the prince, red-faced drunk, coming back from a party. He went and had a bath and then did, what he did. They will tell you this person arred me and that person arred me. It's written, it's in court testimony. So, the victims know who did it to them. So out of the mouths of babes, there's your clients. If they knew who they were, because not all these people are super famous, Bill Gates level recognizable. Some of them are just the boring hedge fund managers, whatever, donor class people. And so it's just some guy and he's like, oh, I'm Bob or whatever. So they don't always know who did it, but many times they did, especially if somebody had any kind of notoriety, and they'll tell you who it was. His own employees will tell you who it was, including the staff around the house, bodyguards and chefs and things, and the pilots. One of the pilots was so miffed, he just leaked the flight logs. So then you got to see everybody that was flying around with Jeffrey. Now, not everybody who got on a plane with him, or he got on a plane with in some cases, is guilty. It's just, you got to have, that is a data point though, and it's worth knowing who his associates were. But not all of them knew what he was up to. But many of them definitely did. Especially when when you see the log and it's him, Maxwell, so-and-so, and a bunch of girls. Then it's pretty safe to know what was going on.
You've got an interesting question coming here, and that is from the Conch. What does Bill Barr know about Nicholas Tartaglione?
You think he would know the story of when Jeffrey got choked out by his roommate, that obviously who has access to him? The one that's in his cell. So if you were going to do a contract killing and you needed to have access to a certain prisoner, who would be better than the cellmate? Would Barr know? You think he would. Now, it was funny because Jeffrey said, "Oh, I did it to myself," or they said he said that, so he could be on suicide watch, so that he wouldn't be alone and he would get separated from his cellmate. But they took him off that watch. They're like, "You're not suicidal." But they always say, "Oh no, Nicholas wasn't there. He was over here at the time." But I think he was killed much earlier than they are saying. They went and discovered his body later. And there was actually this is not that reliable, but a 4chan post saying he's dead, he's been dead. And then about 45 minutes later, they discovered him.
Yeah, and Tartaglione, if there's a world where crime and
He's
government
cop
coexist,
killer. I mean,
he was a cop himself, wasn't he? An ex-cop?
Yeah.
Up for the death penalty. So he had a lot to lose, his life, and he's not received the death penalty. He's had allegedly had a quid pro quo. Jeffrey.
It's more important to say on behalf of whom. Like, why? Okay, it doesn't matter. Well, it does, but who killed him is not as important as who had him do it. And that's the big mystery, because everybody needed Jeffrey to disappear. But as far as of the Johns, which one has the most influence, especially over New York prison system and organized crime? That's on that list. And that's the Clintons. They had the stroke to do that.
Starduster wants to know, wasn't Pam Bondi in AG in Florida when Jeffrey was caught?
Yeah, and that's why he went to jail.
Wow.
But he went to like weekend jail. You know, he had work leave 5 or 6 days a week. And that's what's interesting too, because if he's only in jail on Sunday or sometimes Saturday and Sunday, yet he gets all these visits from former Israeli prime ministers like Ehud Barak. That's weird, because he can only come but once a week. So if you get a dozen visits, that's 12 weeks. I mean, you're basically there every week visiting Jeffrey while he's in jail. You know, please make sure, don't worry, we're going to make this go away. Don't say anything, because the easiest way out would just be to plea bargain up. Okay, here's some names. And they may make sure, no, don't do that. The second time, I think it basically got to, you're going to keep your mouth shut because we'll kill you.
Yeah. And we got a question here from Bailey. Ryan, could you give new people a breakdown of how you got involved researching Jeffrey?
I had a girl tell me about it back in 2007. I have told you, if you remember, I gave you this person's name, but this person is not public. But she was telling me what was going on. And I thought, okay, it was like a year later, he ends up getting arrested. Like, wow, everything that girl was telling me, I got to recheck this. So, because it seemed outrageous, because it is. If you listen to that story, it's the guy with the private island, it just sounds like, sure. You know, but so I looked into it, and it was very hard to get any information until he got arrested. Then it blew up. And then you see the people who are visiting in prison. You see his association with Maxwell. And I already knew about Robert Maxwell. And so when if for those who don't know, he was an asset for Israeli intelligence. He was a whistleblower. Well, not a whistleblower. He was the one that told on a whistleblower, Mordecai Vanunu, and the Israelis imprisoned him. And then Robert Maxwell, you know, he tried to put the squeeze on the people that put squeezes on people, and he got thrown off a boat naked. They killed him. But anyway, once I saw that Jeffrey was with Maxwell, then I realized, okay, this goes back. This is state sponsored. This is not some perverted rich guy that did this all by himself. And so when I looked in his associations after the Jalton School with Ace Greenberg and the Bear